Well, the tariff frenzy is in full swing, with Switzerland in a panic after being slapped with a 39% tariff. The new rates for Switzerland, which is still in negotiations with the White House and 69 other trading partners, take hold on Thursday, 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer shattering hopes of opening the window for more trade deals when he said Friday the tariff rates are, quote, pretty much set. But today, the European Union announcing a 6-month delay in planned retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. to keep that window open for more negotiations. Meanwhile, the U.S. coffers are raking in cash from customs duties, taking in $152 billion through July, compared to $78 billion during the same time period a year ago. The New York Times headline is this: Trump's tariffs are making money. That may make them hard to quit. The tariffs are a substantial new source of revenue for the federal government. The budget may start to depend on it. President Trump yesterday explained what he wants done with the tariff revenue. Watch.
Well, we're going to pay down debt. We have a lot of money coming in, much more money than the country's ever seen, by hundreds of billions of dollars. And there could be a distribution or dividend to the people of our country. I would say for people that would be middle-income people and lower-income people, we could do a dividend. But one of the things we're going to be doing is reducing debt.
But the biggest trade target remains China. Trump last week indirectly hitting it with an executive order, a 40% levy on goods shipped from Chinese warehouses in Southeast Asia to the United States. And the U.S.-China tension ramping up further as China pushes back against Trump's demand that China stop buying energy from Iran and Russia. Beijing also clamping back by tightening controls of its critical minerals to Western defense manufacturers. The theoretical tariff deadline with China is August 12th. If that deadline holds up, then Jamieson Greer says the rate snaps back to 80%. Let's bring in one of the architects of the 2018 tariffs during President Trump's first term, former U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross. Always a pleasure to see you, Wilbur.
Good to see you.
What do you make of, I want to start with China and this report in the Wall Street Journal that they're holding back on rare earth minerals. They control 90% of the world's supply.
Right.
This is cars, this is aircraft, this is everything. And in particular, this hits the defense companies.
Right. Well, they've been doing that right along, so it's not a surprise. But remember, several weeks ago, Trump thought that they had agreed to relent on that while the talks were going on. And unfortunately, just as was true in the Phase 1 agreement that we made with China, they never implemented that either. So one of the problems dealing with China is even if you make a deal, how can you be sure they'll live up to it? Because their batting average, not very good.
Yeah, can you trust the Chinese? Many would say the answer to that is no. What do you make of this new threat from President Trump against India? He is saying to India that you're buying Russian oil, and China's buying Iranian oil, and they're both buying these, and these are black market ships. These are, some of these tankers are meeting out in the middle of the ocean, doing these dark horse trades.
Right.
This is very disconcerting, but also this really could be the
thing
that gets President Putin to the table.
Well, if India really goes along with it, and especially if both India and China went along, Putin would have no alternative. The hydrocarbons are so critical to his whole economy. 40 or so % of the Russian economy is being consumed by the war, just itself. And it was never that robust. The whole size of the economy originally was about that of the size of Italy. And who thinks of Italy as a world power? Nobody. So the war is getting to be quite unaffordable for Russia. And I really think if you go back to the Reagan days, the reason Reagan won the Star Wars was Russia couldn't afford to keep it up. So I think Trump's right to put maximum pressure on. And one of the disappointments of the Biden administration, they never really enforced those sanctions.
That's true. When you look at all of the tariff fights that we have, whether it's the EU, whether what's happening with India or China, and you look back on your experience in 2018 and 2019, what stands out to you and the Donald Trump that you worked with then and the Donald Trump that you see today?
Well, there are several changes. First of all, in the first administration, we were probing how much authority does the president actually have to impose tariffs without going to the Senate. Remember, historically, the Senate has weighed in very, very heavily on all trade things. So with the Section 232 and 301, which were the things we used, we were very careful to dot the I's and cross the T's because we knew they would be litigated, and they were upheld right through the Supreme Court. Well, that now gave Trump the background. Now he has a pretty good idea how far he can go on his own without resorting to Congress. Without having to go to Congress, he can do things a lot faster, because while Congress may do some good, it's slow. It's a very slow process. So that's one change. Second change, Trump now is firmly in control of the Republican Party. He was not during the first term. He's also in control of the Congress, even though the majority is paper thin. And then finally, he's much stronger with the public in general. So he's in a much more powerful position. Further, not only in tariffs, but in everything else, he now knows much better how government really works and how you make things happen. So his knowledge base is enormously improved over the first time. And that's why he's been able to broaden conceptually the way he uses tariffs. It's not just to hold on to trade, it's also for diplomatic purposes, for all kinds of other purposes.
And you were there in the beginning. Wilbur Ross, it's always great to see you.